In this video, we will have a basic overview of the objects constraints in Blender. So the object constraint is here with this little icon. You will have the Add Object Constraint menu. You can just see that we have a lot kind of constraints, and basically what it does, so it constrains an object to have some transformation. You can copy some transform from an object to another. You can limit your transformations too, and you can even transform something to something else with another object. Okay, you can track an object, and you can make some relationships with objects. So we will not see everything, and some motion tracking too. Motion tracking is really specific, we will not use it, but for transform tracking and relationships, it can be interesting to see just a few. Okay, let's have a look to the copy and to the limit rotation, scale, or transforms, or what we have here. So let's say for my cube, I would like to limit the location. Okay, so by default, if I add a limit location to my cube, and as you can see, each constraint is specific to one object. Okay, it's related to one object, so I have one constraint per object or two constraints per object, but if I add another object, my other object will not have any constraint, so it's related to the object here. What I can do with this object is that I can, for example, limit the location of this object into the x-axis, and if I enable the 2 here and that I put 0 for the 2, you can see that I can still move my object, but here I can not go into the right or to the left because my x-axis is locked. Okay, and if I put, for example, the maximum here at 5, you can see that this object can go until here, but not more. Okay, and so it creates kind of invisible walls that I cannot cross it, whatever I do with G. And here, if I use the minimum Y and maximum at 5 too, it will be the same, but for a kind of square that I cannot go. And if I use the same here for the Z, I will have a kind of here kind of invisible cube. So this cube will be like that. I will just add another cube to show you how it will be, and I will just go into the options of my cube here and make it with 5 dimension and put it transparent into the options of the cube for the visibility. Viewport display here, I will make it just wire. Okay, like this you can see the cube, and I will put it into the right location like this, just for you to see how it will be. Okay, and it will be the same here. Good. So now the center of my cube cannot cross this cube with the constraint that I did put. Okay, as you can see, it's I did just put the limits where I wanted, so 0 to 5, and I cannot move, okay, around that. So good to understand how the limit location works, but it can work for any transformation like the scale or the rotation. If I add, for example, limit rotation for my Suzanne here, let's go to limit rotation this time, so you have the same kind of limits with the with here. So let's say you cannot make rotation with X or Y, and whatever the R that I will use, it will make only the Z rotation, because only the Z rotation is free. But if I just make, for example, 45 and not more, I will have the possibility to make a rotation there, but it will never go across the 45, as you can see. Okay, so I will stay only from here to there and not more. So it can be interesting to limit this like that. You have some influence on each constraint that makes it even more powerful. Like, let's say, for example, we will add other objects like a cube here, and I don't know, a cone maybe. Okay, and let's say we would like to copy the rotation of Suzanne. So I will add here a copy rotation, and this time you can see that you have an empty field target that you can target an object here. So you will choose Suzanne. Okay, and we will make the same for this. Add a constraint, copy rotation, and here we will choose Suzanne as well. Okay. So now if I make a rotation of Suzanne, the other objects will follow because they will copy the rotation of this. But if I put an influence less strong, let's say for that one, so you can see if I make a rotation of Suzanne, it will make something less strong. Okay, so I will have a less strong rotation when I use the influence like this. Okay. And you can even invert the rotation, like for example, if I invert everything here and make a rotation with Suzanne, you can see that now the rotation is fully inverted. So interesting to work with these features like that. So you will have the possibility to make some relationships too. So let's take another example. Okay, so you will have the possibility to make some relationships, and if I just add another object, like for example the cylinder, okay, and I will put an object constraint, and this constraint will be a child of. So it will be the same kind of relationship that we will have with Control P, like that, but what is good with this one is that you can set an influence, and so if you move your Suzanne, the other will move but less strong. So it can be interesting sometimes or if you do a rotate, it will follow but not totally. So it's a kid that doesn't listen really what's happening here. And so you have the possibility to add a child of here, or for example follow path if you have a curve, or a shrink wrap if you want to shrink into the object. But for now, let's just play with the child of. It's enough for that one. You have the possibility to use the track to. The track to, I use it usually for the camera. If I want my camera to track always an object, so let's say I will add a camera here. Okay, and I will go into a view that I like for example that one, and I will make Control R0 like this. I will have my camera view directly there, and I would like my camera to track always my Suzanne, whatever the place it is. So if I go to my camera, I will add a constraint track to, okay, and it will track here Suzanne. As you can see, it did invert everything because it's not the right angle. So I will just put here, just remember that one, negative Z and Y. Okay, and now whatever I do with that one, it will follow. Okay, so you can see now my camera is always tracking Suzanne, and if I move my camera too, it will always track Suzanne. So it's a very good way. Like for example, if I do this kind of movement, I go into my second view here, and I will make a camera view on the right. So like this, you can see what it will do. It will make a perfect traveling like this, but still focus on Suzanne. Okay, so very interesting to work with these constraints like that with the track 2. It will work. This kind of little setup for the camera is very interesting to use. So I come back here, I will join the areas and come back into my normal view. So this one for the tracking, the track 2 is very interesting. I remove this object, and another setup with all of this, maybe we can have a look at how to control a kind of robotic finger. So let's have a cylinder here, and this cylinder I will go into my options here, and I will put a depth of a radius of 0.5 maybe would be enough for what I want, even 0.3 let's say, okay? And I will have my object that is okay, well in place, let's say, and I would like my object to be here with GZ1. I will put my object like that, and now I would like my origin to be there to make my rotation from here, from the basis here. So I will just go into set origin here, and I will put set origin to 3D cursor with the right click, okay? And here now I can make my rotation like I want. So let's imagine we have a kind of robotic finger with this is just a part of the finger. So we will duplicate with Shift D Z 2.5, and with Shift R we will repeat the operation, and we will have let's say a robotic finger, and this will represent the joint, okay? It's not really perfect, but it's just to imagine. So now I would like to add a controller to my finger. So let's add here an empty, and this empty will be a sphere, and I would like to put it here into on the side, just a little like that. And yeah, I would like these objects to follow the rotation of this one. So I will put a constraint copy rotation, and it will be on that one, and I will do the same, okay, for all these objects, and a copy rotation here and a copy rotation there. Yeah, no, why? Yeah, I have everything. And now if I make RX into my my object, I have a kind of movement like that. So not really interesting, not really a finger movement. Okay, it's a little crazy for now. What I can do to make it this better, I can just tell this one to be the child of that one. So I will go there and add another constraint. It will be a child of, and this one, it will be the child of that one. Now I take that one, and I will add another constraint. It will be a child of 2, and it will be child of that one. If it moves, it's because this one did move too, so it takes the location of that one. You can just make a set inverse to come back here, and it will come back into the original location. And now if I make X, you can see that I have really kind of finger movement that works pretty well, okay? So RX, perfect. So we don't want our finger to go on that side because it will break. We want only on that side, so we can make a constraint here, limit rotation, and we will tell that it will rotate only into the x-axis, so we will enable everything, and it will be a maximum of I don't know, like 90 degrees. So if I just make a rotation like that, you are sure that you cannot cross more than this, okay, and not go into the other side. Maybe if our robot is a little flexible, you can do a -10 here, and you can go with a little rotation, something like that. Yeah, okay, you can go until there and until there. Good. So you have a limit rotation now. But let's say if you have not only one finger but 4 fingers, so with Shift D X we will duplicate this object, and for each duplication maybe we will have the obligation to make a set inverse to come to the right location, okay? So it's a little tricky to make, but after when it's done. So I will make the set inverse to come back into the right location like that, and make the last finger, let's say, okay, set inverse and set inverse. So now I have 4 fingers that will be controlled by that one, and if I make R, you can see the motion works well. But if I want to make like a kind of more natural motion, like the hand, for example, the index will close less quick than other fingers naturally into the human hand. So for example, let's take this one is the index and this one is the pinky. So okay, I will just put an influence less strong on the index here. So let's say the influence of my copy rotation will be something like 0.7 for that one, okay? And it will be the same, and the second will be 0.8 with a little more, okay? And the same here. And this one will be 0.9, okay? And the pinky will close perfectly. So now if I make a rotation, you can see that I have this kind of motion that works very well and that is more natural, okay? So just with one movement like that, I have already something really interesting. And it can be very powerful to use this constraint to work with, okay? So the same kind of constraint can be used, for example, let's say for a door. For a house, you have several doors you model a house and you have several doors and you want to open the doors everyone at once, you can do that. So let's do it very quick here. I will remove that and let's do it very quick. I will just, or maybe I will just keep that one and Control Z. Yeah, I will keep that one and put it into the collection hand, let's say. Okay, like this you can have the examples and I will save the blend file for you. You will have your first source file. And so I will just remake very quick to the camera setting. So I will just create a new one that will be the camera track. So I will add an object, whatever the object. So it can be an empty, let's say. Okay, so we have a sphere here. And I will add a camera. I make this quick. And with Control R0, I have my view here. I move my camera a little. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I want to constrain my camera to track to the empty always. And I will just do add object constraint. It will be here, this one, track to, and I will choose -Z and Y and select that object. Okay, and now whatever my object will do, it will follow, and whatever my camera will do, it will follow too. Okay, so this one, it will be the camera track. Good. And let's say I would like to show you another one that is a door system. So I hide that one and I just create a new, and this one will be doors. Good. So let's add a first door, and this door will be a cube. I will go into front view, and I will say my object will be a little taller. So SZ2 to have something taller, and SY to have something a little like the shape of a door. Okay, but we would like the center of origin to be in a specific location. So with G and Control, we'll just move the door here in front view to have the corner of the door in here, the center of the scene here. And with the right click, I will set the origin of my door to this one, to the 3D cursor. And like this, I'm sure that I can make a rotation into the Z-axis for my door like that. Okay, so it can be good to close your door. Good. But let's say you have several doors into your house. Like for example, you have this one, you have a back door here. Okay, another one, and let's say you have a wall here too, and with Shift D, X, and GY, and RD 90, you have another door that is here. Okay, and maybe another one there. Okay, with several here rooms inside and whatever. It's just to show you the example that you can open the door everyone at once. So I can add here an empty. This empty will be a sphere because I like the sphere, and I will just put it right in the center somewhere here. And I will just now put an object constraint. It will be a copy rotation, and I will just copy and I will just use that one and select the offset value here like this. I'm sure that I can still have the original rotation of my object, and I will do the same for that one. Okay, copy rotation, just go there. It doesn't change, so I don't have to move anything. Copy rotation, same, it will be that one. And I will use here the offset value to have the good one, and another one, copy rotation, and for that one. Good. So now if I make a rotation into the z-axis, you can see that my door's opening exactly how I want. But let's say I would like this one to go into that side to open to the outside directly, not to the inside, because now it's just open into this side. So I can just invert everything and only the z-axis, because it will work only into the z-axis. So I can open my door into the other side like that, okay? And same for that one. I want you to open to the outside, so you invert here the z-axis, okay, and everything else, and it will just open the door now into the other way like that, okay? So can be interesting to work with these features. And I will just remove here the invert values here. I will just keep it like this. But I will just add a last constraint here. It will be a limit rotation. And I don't want my rotation to be into the X, into the Y. So I just remove these ones. And I will just limit the rotation to the maximum of 90 degrees. And like this, I'm sure if I make a R, it will not cross. It will not go more than this, okay? And even if I use this one, I would just cannot go further after this, okay? So interesting to use the constraints for this kind of setup like this. So I come back here and you have now the hand, okay? You have the camera tracking here, and you have the doors. And you have a lot of possibilities to use the constraints just with copy rotations, and use some gear system. So for example, can be very interesting. So that's it for the constraints, for the object constraint. As you can see, there are a lot to discover. It was just a few examples of what you can do with it. But maybe we'll have a look on others during the training, okay? For the next video, we will discover the Boolean actions and the add-on bool tool.